is going on, people? LP 2000 right back at you with another video. Yes, welcome back to Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Summit Kaiju. And today we're doing another X-Plus figure review. In my opinion, another highlight of this year 2018, since X-Plus has been killing it this year with releases and blah 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 blah. And today we're taking a look at the X-Plus 30cm Ric Exclusive edition of Mogera 1994 from the epic Heisei Godzilla film, Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. And yes, I said epic. Because I know that historically I have not been too kind to this film. But it's funny how a certain figure can make you change your mind. But I'll talk about that later on. Yes, this is a beautiful figure, you know. And you know how we do things around here. Let's get into the box before we get into the figure. And this is the awesome box right here. Yeah, has a picture of Mogera on the front. A close-up of Mogera on, I guess, the left-hand side. You know, yellow name of Mogera. And finally, you know, and this is the thing, I know what Mogera stands for since Mogera is an acronym. You know, finally, we got a box and we finally got confirmation, you know, in case we do forget what Mogera stands for. Mobile Operation Godzilla Expert Robot Aerial Type. Because for so long, I forgot what that was. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I forgot what Mogera really stands for. Or what it stood for, excuse me. But that's why I'm not going to trash this box. I'm going to keep it just to have a reminder of what Mogera stands for, you know. But it's a cool looking box, you know, with the beautiful artwork. You know me, I love the 30cm artwork on the box as well as the Sakai's. And I'm going to hold on to this one. I know y'all expect maybe a box toss, but I'm sorry, I got to keep this one. I got to keep this one. The yellow sticker signifying it as a Ric boy. And that's pretty much it with the box. All right. Now, let's go into the backstory about this figure. I got this figure at G-Fest, as a matter of fact. Huge shout out to everybody that went to G-Fest that I saw, that I had conversations with. I plan on doing a G-Fest experience video at some point, maybe real soon, maybe like the next week or so. But I wanted to knock out this review, you know, because this was a figure that I was really searching for at G-Fest. And I'll get to that in like in a few seconds. But the backstory about Mogera, or at least this version of Mogera, we saw a prototype of this figure at the Winter Wonder Festival show in Japan back in February. It was standing alongside SpaceGodzilla, and that was visual confirmation that a Mogera was coming. And also, we saw this. This is part of the Ric boy feature of this figure. It comes with a plasma cannon or his maser cannon that you can exchange out of the port in his chest right here. And also comes with a light up feature with this battery pack that has Mobile Operation Godzilla Expert Robot Aerial Type. You see how I'm looking back and forth with it, because it's so much to be remembering, you know what I mean? So yes, it comes with a light up feature. It comes with an interchangeable chest plate. That's the Ric feature of this figure. And like I said, we saw a prototype version of this figure at Wonderfest, and it just got dropped in late June going into July, along with a lot of other stuff that dropped in July, like the anime Godzilla, Frankenstein, the Frankenstein Ric boy set with Baragon. The Gargantuas, the 25cm Gargantuas came out in June after being pushed back since we thought they were coming out in April or May. What else came out in June? Rodan 1956 Ric, that came out. Mothra 1964 DX, a Ric exclusive figure that came out in June. I think I'm missing a couple others. But those are the ones that kind of stick out the most to me. Oh, and Gamera. I forgot about Gamera, 1995, the RMC version of Gamera. So, not to mention the Diamond reissues of the landing stage Hedra. So, yeah, June was like floored with lots of releases. And for me personally, the reason why I passed on Mogera at that particular point, because I already placed the order for the RMC Gamma, and that alone was a little bit expensive. I also got my order in for Frankenstein. I got just the standard. So between those two releases and the fact that it was June and I was trying to save for G-Fest, I knew I couldn't get everything that I really wanted. And I really did want Mogera, you know, I really did. Even though, like I mentioned before in the other video, SpaceGodzilla is not up there as far as like my favorite Kaiju films. But you know me, I'm huge into setups. And this figure would have completed, and it does complete, my 30 centimeter figure setup of the movie. You know, along with SpaceGodzilla, along with the 92 Godzilla. They have not made a 94 Godzilla yet, but the 92 serves as a great stand-in. But you'll see that later on in size comparisons. But anyways, the point is that I knew that I couldn't place so many pre-orders all within the same month, because I know they will be dropping all at the same time. And like I said, me trying to save for G-Fest and all that good stuff, I didn't want to be, you know, hounded with so many different pre-orders, or at least payment pre-orders. So I said, you know what, I'll just order Frankenstein and I'll order Gamma, because between the three, I'd rather have the Frankenstein and Gamma first. And I was like, maybe I can score one at G-Fest later on. Fast forward to G-Fest, and I got to give a huge shout out to Mike Ross, the Vinyl Vigilante himself. Really good dude. You know him, you love him. Me and him were like talking, or him and I were talking on like this similar thread on Facebook. And I think that I posed a question about, yeah, I did. I was the one that posed a question on a particular thread, like, what were you looking for when you go to the dealer's room at G-Fest? Because we all know the dealer's room is stacked to the ceiling with so many different figures for us X-Plus, or SH Monster Arts, model kits, marmots, you know, everything that you want as far as a Kaiju collector is in the dealer's room. So I posted a question asking, what are you, if you're going to G-Fest and you're going to the dealer's room, what exactly are you looking for? And Mike Ross said, you know what, I want a Mogera. And I'm like, oh boy. And that's the thing, not trying to get into Mike's business, but sometimes he gets to G-Fest a little bit early, like a couple days early before the event officially starts. And the thing about G-Fest is you have to get there that Friday to register. And nowadays, or at least for the past 2 or 3 years that I've been going, they've been giving out wristbands for people who want to get into the dealer's room. Because ordinarily, people will line up for the dealer's room, and they will start like that morning, you know. And so by the time you get there, let's say you get there like around late afternoon or whatever, that line is stretched all the way, like by so many different ballrooms and hallways. So to speed up the process, or to make things a little bit more accessible for people to get in and get out, once you register, they give you a wristband, and then that gives you, you know, early access to the dealer's room. And I drove to G-Fest this year, right? I drove to G-Fest this year, and I knew I would be getting there a little bit late. So I had a couple friends that were already there. And I also asked Mike, like, look, if you see a Mogera, whether it's the Ric version or the standard, please let me know. Or at least please tell the vendor that they have a guaranteed sale once I get there. And actually, as soon as I got to G-Fest late afternoon, one of the first people that I ran into was Mike. And he was like, hey, there's one in there, you know, and you can find it at such and such and such a place. And along with a couple other friends that also pointed me in the right direction. So thank y'all so much for doing that for me. You know, because this was the goal for me. This was the goal to get Mogera, and I'm glad I accomplished that goal. I know my haul, because I only got like 2 figures and some artwork from G-Fest. My haul is not as epic as other G YouTubers or G fans out there. Like SpaceGodzilla 1974, his haul is amazing. Goji Franklin, his haul is amazing. Gojira 851, his haul is amazing. But the one thing that I really wanted, that I really needed for my collection, that I really wanted to have, and I wanted to get at G-Fest, was Mogera. So I'm glad I got it. So that's the backstory about Mogera, him being released, how I got my hands on it. I'm sorry, it's in an elongated backstory, but it's the backstory nonetheless. And I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I got Mogera. You know, it's a really, really amazing figure. It really is. And once you put it up against SpaceGodzilla and the 1992 Godzilla, you have a great, great setup for the movie. A great, great setup for the movie. And this is one of those situations where this figure and the figure setup makes me appreciate the movie even more. Because like I mentioned, SpaceGodzilla ain't up there with me. But after seeing these figures together, and after me giving the movie a rewatch recently in preparation for this review, SpaceGodzilla has raised up a couple notches as far as I'm concerned. So you know how we do things around here. Let's get up close and personal with my newest addition to my X-Plus figure roster, the 30cm 1994 Ric Boy exclusive edition of Mogera from Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. Alright, let's go. Okay folks, here we are up close and personal with the 30cm Ric exclusive edition of the 1994 Moguera. And as you can see, he looks really, really good. Really simplistic, not a little, you know, simplistic is like the wrong word, but, you know, it comes with a very simplistic paint job. There's not a lot of various colors on the figure like you would find like in the Megazord in the corner right there. I still got to get to him. He's coming, so trust me, he's on his way. Or Jet Jaguar, as you see right there in the other corner right there. Basically just, you know, silver, kind of like a, not really a dark blue, it's like a dark Carolina blue. I know that would make my mom happy because she's a Carolina fan. And it also comes with a tail stand, which I've seen some collectors say that they don't really see the need for it. Honestly, I'm going to be a devil's advocate for that. I think it does, because honestly, the way I display my figure, I need this tail stand because I like my Moguera to stand upright like this. You know what I mean? Otherwise, if you don't, he kind of leans back like this a little bit. He kind of like leans back, and I like to have him more propped up. You know, and once you pair him with the other monsters, he does look good. So to me, even though the tail stand may not be needed for some, for me, I like it. For me, I think it's a great addition. And for me, the way I like to display my Moguera and have him more upright, the tail stand is needed. Or if you don't like it, or you feel that this Moguera doesn't really need it, trust me, I'm sure you have other figures that this tail stand will be very useful for. But this thing is amazing. You know, it really speaks for itself. You know, like I said, the silver, the dark Carolina blue, as well as like there's a dark dry brushing all over the figure to give it more of a battle weary look. You know, which was it's more in a way it's kind of more screen accurate than what we saw on film, because in the film Moguera was always shiny. Even after his skirmishes with SpaceGodzilla, he was just a really shiny battle machine, a battle mecha. But at least with X-Plus, at least they went a little step further, in my opinion, to make it a little bit more realistic by having a little more dark shading on certain parts of his body, as well as his arms and his thighs or whatever. It looks really, really, really good. And his face, you know, typical Moguera face, you know, with the orange, I guess, or amber eyes, as well as the snout right here, the drill. Dark gray on the drill right here. Just good. Really, really good. As well as the dark gray right here, or smoky charcoal gray on his hands, or at least the ports where he would shoot his spiral grenade missiles. That's another thing. That's what I thought. That's why I thought the Ric Boy feature was going to be. That, you know, you can open these up and it will expose the spiral grenade missiles. Wouldn't that be cool? But as far as, like I said, Ric Boy features, it comes with the light up, where the eyes light up, and it also comes with this not plasma, but this laser cannon that you can install in his chest. That's one of the issues I have with this figure. Is the Ric Boy feature. And honestly speaking, even though I'm glad I have this figure, and I'm glad that I got it, looking back on it now, and I wish I could have got the standard, because the Ric Boy features of this figure, they okay, but to me they weren't enough for me to want to get it, even though I did get it, you know. And the reason why I did get it, because there were no other Mogueras in the dealer's room. There was no standard Mogueras. If they were, I would have gotten one. Or I could have went through Hobby Search and got that one, but at the same time, I was at G-Fest. I didn't feel like placing the order for Hobby Search. Didn't have to wait for it to ship and whatever. I was like, you know what? There was Moguera right there in front of me. So I opted to get the Ric. But looking back on it now, I think the standard would have been just fine. I just think that the Ric Boy features could have been a little bit better. But as far as like the laser cannon, what you have to do, like this port right here, that's what you have to do to exchange it. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna put up a picture now on what what the figure looks with the laser cannon in his chest. And as you can see, it looks really, really good. It looks really, really good, you know, but ordinarily or normally, I'm going to display my Moguera the way I have it here, right now on the on this side right here, you know. It's nice to have this option, but the problem is that you have to take like a tool, unless your fingers are small enough where you can pry it open. It's not as simple as like the 25 centimeter gargantuas that just came out with the hexagon pegs and the hexagon inserts where you can just take off a limb and insert it real easily. With this one, you have to take like a tool, like a knife or something, to pry it open. And then you have to put this in. Putting in the his chest plate right here, as well as the maser plate, it's easy. It's just prying it off is the issue, which may run the risk of damaging the figure. And that's the only, at least one issue that I have with it. The other issue as far as the ripboard feature is, let me show you what it looks like with the lights on. And what you have to do is, this is the port right here, right? This is the port right here, which is kind of, it's not relatively easy. You have to put a little work in to take off the back plate of the port, and that's the hole right there. And then, you know, you just put in your little battery pack, and let's see, there it is right here. Let's see, hopefully it'll work. There you go. Thank God. Don't embarrass me. See what I'm saying? Hold on, the magical light TV. There you go. There you go. Because sometimes with these battery packs, and I was telling Godzilla this the other day, with these battery packs, sometimes you have to make sure that when you like slam, or at least inadvertently like put down the battery pack, sometimes hard, sometimes the batteries will be knocked out loose. So if you have an updated ripboard figure like this that have this battery pack, and sometimes if they don't work, always make sure that you open the battery pack, make sure that the batteries are locked into place here, you know, because sometimes your figures may not be defective, you know. So sometimes it's better for you to open up the battery pack, make sure that the batteries are in place. And as you can see, as far as the eyes of Mogera here lighting up, that's the issue I have with it. It's more of a whitish color. It's more so of a whitish color, and I wanted to have it more of the amber color that we saw on film, you know, or kind of like how the 30 centimeter Mecha Godzilla 1975 Ric has his eyes all yellow and more of an amber color. I just wish that Moguera had that type of coloring on his eyes. You know what I mean? But you know, it's a nice feature to have, but more likely I will not use this feature that much. But that's the only two issues I have with this figure: the eyes not lighting up the way it should be, as well as at least a lot of effort required to exchange the chest plate. So let me just shut this off here and get this out of the way. Come on, Moguera. There you go. Right here, and put the port back in. You know, there you go. There you go. That's it. Yeah, so that's it. You know, but paint job is awesome. The sculpt is amazing. It's on point. There's nothing exaggerated on this figure. He looks exactly like he did on film. And it's a great addition. When you have the ripboard or the standard, it looks really good. But honestly, for me personally, I wish I could have gotten the standard. You know, like I said, because I don't intend on using this that much. I don't want to keep on exchanging the chest plates. I don't want to damage the figure. And like I said, you're gonna need a tool, unless your fingers are small enough where you can pry open the original chest plate and put this one in. You're gonna need a tool to pry it out. But like I said, you may run a risk of damaging the figure, and we don't want it to happen. You know, so it's a great size figure. You know, but as far as everything else about it, it's on point. I like it. You know, especially this little buzzsaw thing. You know, it's just a nice updated version of the Moguera for the Mysterians. I don't think I mentioned that. Yes, this is a revamped version of the robot that was attacking humanity in the 1957 classic, The Mysterians, the Moguera robot. So Toho decided to bring back this mecha and use it to fight Godzilla, or SpaceGodzilla, in the 1994 film. And it's a nice revamp, you know. Some revamped creatures, you know, they do do justice by. Like, Baragon looks good in the Showa. He looks great in the Millennium. Godzilla 1962, for example, looks great. But I think the 2014 looks great, too, as a nice revamp. Mogera, same thing. Look good in the Showa. But for me, I kind of like this Mogera better, as far as, like, in terms of design. I like it better on... I like this version of Mogera better. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that they did right by this suit, as well as the design of the suit, and I'm glad that X-Plus did right by the figure by staying true to the design. Alright, so let's do two size comparisons and we'll wrap this review up with my thoughts of Mogera's role in Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. Normally I talk about the film, but since I will be getting the upcoming SpaceGodzilla Ric Exclusive set with Little Godzilla, that should be due out at the time of this recording. It should be due out within the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks at the most. And once I get that set, I will then talk about Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla when it comes to the commentary portion of my figure review. But in this figure review, I will talk about Mogera's role in SpaceGodzilla and why the film, as well as Mogera, has raised up a few notches, in my opinion. Thanks to X-Plus. All right. So let's go with the first size comparison. Okay, folks, this is the first size comparison, and alongside Mogera, the 30cm 1994 Mogera, I have the 30cm 1993 standard edition of Mecha Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Mecha Godzilla 2 or 93. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I just want to show these two awesome battle mecha robot kaijus together, and they look good. Two Heisei mechas. They look really, really, really awesome together. And from what I've gathered as far as research or, me reading on the movie and stuff like that, I don't really know the real reason why Mogera replaced Mecha Godzilla for SpaceGodzilla, because the original plan for Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla was to have Mecha Godzilla come back. Mecha Godzilla was going to be rebuilt and was going to fight alongside Godzilla to face SpaceGodzilla. But according to the Wikipedia page, they said that Mecha Godzilla was going to be rebuilt, and he was going to fight alongside SpaceGodzilla to fight Godzilla. Which is, kind of different, So I don't really know which version to believe, but the consensus was, the plan was where they were going to go in either direction to bring Mecha Godzilla back, but they decided to do a new mecha, I tend to think that for storyline purposes, that the reason why they brought Mogera in, since Mecha Godzilla did fail in the previous film, maybe they felt like he wasn't an adequate robot to try and salvage, so they decided to go with a new, more powerful mecha to try and take down Godzilla, because that was the motivation for G-Force, and why G-Force was conceived in the first place. It was all about to combat Godzilla as other giant monsters that would come into the fray. But like I said, they look really good together. And actually, seeing these two together, I'm just gonna throw this idea out there. We all know that after SpaceGodzilla, we got Godzilla vs. Destroyer, which was the final film of the Heisei period. And the reason why they decided to kill Godzilla was because they were trying to make way of the 1998 Godzilla. And we ain't got to go into it. We ain't got to go into why that film is the way it is or whatever. That will take just a long conversation that we don't have time for right now. But let's just say that 1998 didn't happen. What if they continued the Heisei series after the death of Godzilla? And they tried with Mothra. Gamera had the better films, in my opinion. After Godzilla, died and went away. We still had some great kaiju action with Gamera. But they decided to come back with Mothra. And Mothra had her own trilogy of films, which, in my opinion, they're okay. They have a more of a never-ending story fantasy type element to them. But for me, I always thought that one thing that they could have done was they could have brought back Mechagodzilla or Mogera and just have them fight other monsters that would come back. And then somehow you can tease Godzilla coming back. You can still jump off the events of the ending of Godzilla vs. Destroyer. And we all know what happens. Godzilla dies, but then again, Godzilla Jr. Is revived by Godzilla's radiation, and he becomes a new Godzilla. why not jump off of that? Why not have a couple movies devoted to G-Force, you know, and just have these two mechas come back and see them go off, fight missions and take down kaijus? Honestly, it could have been Pacific Rim before Pacific Rim was Pacific Rim. You see what I'm saying? You know what? That could be a great live stream discussion. Godzilla 851, if you can hear me, put that on your calendar. We're going to get to that. You know, what if Godzilla 1998 didn't happen? And what if G-Force had their own films, you know? So that's an idea I'm going to float out there. But, you know, it would have been cool. It would have been cool to see Mogera and Mecha Godzilla come back, you know, fight alongside each other to take down monsters or whatever. And you can drop little teasers and hints of Godzilla's eventual return, you know. There's so much that they could have done. You know, I wish they could have extended the Heisei series, to be honest with you. You know, but, you know, it's one of those questions. If they knew then what they know now, would they have done that? Who knows? But it's a nice thing to think about. All right, that's the first size comparison. So let's bring up one more size comparison, and we'll talk about Mogera in reference to Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. So let's go with the last size comparison. Okay, folks, this is what it's all about right here. It's finally here. The setup to complete the 30cm lineup of Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. The only thing that's missing is a little Godzilla. And this looks great. This looks great, you know? And I know a lot of folks, a lot of Godzilla purists, especially if you OCD, are probably saying to yourselves, you know, it looks good, but we still need a 94 Godzilla to really fully complete the setup. And maybe X-Plus will get around to that, you know. I would think that with Mogera finally being here, that maybe that's on the agenda at some point. Which leads me to what I want to say right now. I'm glad that they're going back to SpaceGodzilla. I'm glad they're going back to this film, you know. And it's cool that we're getting not one but two separate releases from the 25cm and 30cm line devoted to this film, you know. You know, with Mogera here, as well as the Ric Exclusive 25cm SpaceGodzilla and Little Godzilla set. So if they were to make a Godzilla 1994, I think that the obvious choice would have the standard be a Godzilla 1994 and have the Ric come with the mini Little Godzilla to go in scale with these three right here. But until then, until that happens, the 92 right here is a great stand-in for it. He really is a great stand-in for it. You know, and this 92 figure obviously is a little bit embellished, where he, you know, he does look like the 92, but in my opinion, he looks more like the 93 in a way, which kind of leaves more like he looks more like the 94, you know. So, because one thing about the 94 Godzilla that I don't like is the fact that he's kind of chunky. You know, I mean, which is kind of weird for me because I like the 95 Godzilla, and it's pretty much the same suit in a way, except the 95 is just orange and the 94 is more so standard Heisei colors. But the 92, this was at a point before Godzilla got super chunky. He was like, you know, walking that fine line between being well proportioned and to being chunky. So I kind of like the 92 with this setup better because he looks better. He looks more imposing, you know. He looks more agile and more just in shape to fight, you know. So I kind of like this setup better. But either way, I'm glad that SpaceGodzilla finally got some people to play with, because they brought out this SpaceGodzilla, I want to say, in 2013, and ever since then he's like been the only figure in my collection from that movie. Officially, I didn't have a Mogera, I didn't have a Little Godzilla or a 94 Godzilla from anything. So I know after 5 years he's finally glad to have some playmates. Aren't you glad, SpaceGodzilla? So yeah, it looks great. And once again, one of the main reasons why I got Mogera is the fact that not only does the robot look good, the figure looks good, but he looks so good in comparison to his other kaiju counterparts from the movie. You know, it looks really good. So if you have the 92 Godzillas, the SpaceGodzilla, don't fret. As you can see here, they look awesome together. They really do. All right, let's wrap this review up and let's talk about Mogera in reference to Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla 1994. All right, let's go. Okay, folks, I'm back, and let's finish up this review by talking about Mogera from Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. Once again, I make no bones about it that for a while now, Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla is not one of my favorite films. You know, I tend to think it's one of the weaker Godzilla films from the Heisei period. As a matter of fact, you know, everybody knows about me. If you know anything about me, you know that when it comes to the Heisei series, I love the film. That's the thing. I never said I hated this film. I never said I hated Mogera. I just think that from entertainment value, for entertainment purposes, for me, there are a lot more entertaining Godzilla films than this one. But I still find entertainment value in this film. And if you know me, you know I love 1985. You know I love Biollante, King Ghidorah, and Destroyer. It's Mothra, Mechagodzilla 2, and SpaceGodzilla where I felt like the Heisei series kind of like lost its traction. It kind of lost steam. It just seems like in these films, they just weren't trying. You know what I mean? They weren't trying like to keep up with the special effects. You know, they were doing a lot of green screening. It just shows like they were losing creativity, in my opinion. You know, with 1985, Biollante, and King Ghidorah to a certain extent, the miniature work was really good. They were more darker films in terms of like how it was shot or whatever. And it just seems like after they started producing these films yearly with King Ghidorah and Mothra and so on and so forth, it just seems like that they just, in a way, kind of got lazy. That's just my opinion, you know? But after rewatching this film, and that's one thing that X-Plus has done in the past for me, whenever they put forth a figure that comes from a movie that I don't particularly care for, if the figure's good, and sometimes I will go back and watch the film, and sometimes I will get a newfound appreciation for it. And once again, X-Plus has done that for me. Like, for example, for years, I really didn't care for the Burning Godzilla as a design. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I love the film. I love Destroyer. But for us as a design, the Burning Godzilla was not one of my favorites, you know. But after me getting my hands on a gigantic Burning Godzilla, that made me appreciate the film even more. It made me appreciate the design of the Burning Godzilla even more. And this figure of Mogera has made me appreciate this film a whole lot more. In comparison to Mechagodzilla and 92, Mothra, I think this film really shines at the fact that it knows exactly what it is. It doesn't try to be anything more than what it should be. It doesn't try to confuse you. You know, that's my issues with 1992, with Godzilla vs. Mothra 1992, as well as Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. In those films that kind of do a lot, you know, like with 92, you know, with that film, they don't really have a clear-cut vision what kind of film it is. Is it a Mothra film? Is it a Batra film? Is it a Godzilla film? It's entertaining, but it's kind of disjointed. You don't know what kind of film it is. Now, don't get me started with Mechagodzilla, you know. The inclusion of Rodan, I don't know what that was. I don't know what that means. Is Rodan a bigger brother to Baby Godzilla? It was just really confusing. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, you didn't really need Rodan in that film. Honestly, you could just devote the conflict between Godzilla and Mechagodzilla, you know. But with SpaceGodzilla, you don't really have those issues. You don't really have those issues at all. It's just that an evil clone of Godzilla is coming from space, and he's coming with one purpose and one purpose only: to come to Earth and kill Godzilla. That's it. Even though you may not have an idea of what the motivation behind that is, but it's clear cut. You know, it's cut and dry. It's real simple, and it makes for a really entertaining film. Now, as far as Mogera is concerned, he does kind of look weak at first. I'm not going to lie. He does look weak at first when he tries to battle SpaceGodzilla in that very convincing shot of the asteroid fight. And y'all know what I'm talking about. But he does redeem himself at the end. He does redeem himself at the end by fighting SpaceGodzilla until Godzilla shows up. And then the three-way between Godzilla, SpaceGodzilla, and Mogera is really, really good. As a matter of fact, you have to give it to the crew of Mogera, because all the while their primary target was really Godzilla. We all know that, right? The purpose of the Mogera project was to kill Godzilla, or at least to keep Godzilla away from humanity. SpaceGodzilla kind of throws a monkey wrench in that plan. So now they have to shift, you know, and now they determine, rightfully so, that SpaceGodzilla is the bigger threat over Godzilla. But they still had guts, because even in the film, especially as far as the dub version, they had an attack plan that after Mogera fights SpaceGodzilla, and then they determined that maybe, you know, we may need Godzilla's help on this. Godzilla does show up, and they have like a three-way dance. They decide, you know what, we're going to take down SpaceGodzilla. And then after that, we're going to take down Godzilla. And me as a kid watching that, because I watched these films when these films came over in conjunction to 1998 movie coming out. And I was in college, you know, I was in college. And after watching this film, after seeing that, I'm like, and they said, you know, after we defeat SpaceGodzilla, we're going to defeat Godzilla. I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. But like Rodan in the previous film, you know, he does something pivotal. Mogera does something pivotal to bring down the monster, kind of like Rodan does, you know, because Godzilla was near death in Mechagodzilla, right? But after Rodan came in and revived Godzilla, that ultimately led to the destruction of Mechagodzilla. And in this film, after Mogera fired those spiral grenade missiles at SpaceGodzilla's crystals, you know, crippling him, and which led to Mogera's destruction, we can SpaceGodzilla enough to give the Godzilla the edge to finally take him down. So I think that's kind of like, you know, a kinship between the third-party monsters of Rodan in '93 and Mogera in '94. But for me, I find Mogera a lot more interesting than Rodan, you know. And I've heard folks say that they find Mogera to be a weak mecha. And that's kind of a strong statement to make. Does he have like the staying power of Mechagodzilla? Not really, but to me, I think as far as like mechas go, I think he has a certain advantage over Mechagodzilla. You know, he can split into two. He's capable of flying in space. You know, Mechagodzilla, as far as we know, couldn't have done that or couldn't do that in the previous film. But still, I think Mogera is not a weak kaiju by any means. Not a weak robotic kaiju by any means. Would it have been nice to see Mechagodzilla come back for this film and probably see something that we have never seen before, which is see Mechagodzilla and Godzilla fight side by side on the same side to combat a bigger kaiju threat? Yes, it would be nice to see that. But at the same time, I'm also glad at what we got. And this figure made me appreciate this film as well as this kaiju so much more than I had before. And that's a testament to how X-Plus has made this figure so awesome, and the craftsmanship and the work they put in to make this figure such a highlight of the year as far as figure releases, and the fact that it made me change my mind on something that I have been steadfast feeling about, or at least steadfast about how I feel about certain things or a certain film or a certain monster, whatever. If they can make me change my mind on just a great figure release, that says a lot, and I'm appreciative to X-Plus for doing that. You know what I mean? So that pretty much concludes my review of the X-Plus 30cm 1994 Ric Exclusive Mogera from the 1994 epic kaiju film from the Godzilla Heisei film series, Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. You have any questions, holler at me down in the comment section or hit me up on Facebook via Leslie P. Chambers. We definitely would go from there. Yes, I'm loving this figure. I'm glad I got it. Once again, thank you to Mike Ross. Thank you to John Ruffin and a couple other people that tried to help me out and point me in the right direction at G-Fest to get this figure. And y'all helped me to accomplish my goal, and I really do appreciate you doing that. You know what I mean? Lots of stuff is coming. Lots of reviews are coming. Varan, Megazord, Sakai 54, Landing Stage Hedra, the Rick SpaceGodzilla set, the 1962 Favorite Sculptors line, Godzilla, you know, lots of stuff is coming. I have a few more live stream ideas I want to get off the ground. So trust me, we're going to be busy on the channel in the next few months. You know what I mean? So stay tuned. You will not be disappointed. And please get this figure. You will not be disappointed. At the time of recording, I think a couple are still on Hobby Search. Even though I didn't give the ripboard features of this figure glowing reviews, it's still a nice figure to have. Don't get me wrong, but going back on it now, I'm just going to be honest about it. Going back on it now, knowing what I know now, I should have went standard on this. But the Rick features are good nonetheless, you know. So don't let me sway you. If you have your heart set on getting the Rick, by all means go for it. You know, by all means go for it. But keep in mind about the issues with the interchangeable chest and the lights. If you're expecting them to be amber, then you might be disappointed. But other than that, it's an okay Rick feature, you know. So if you have your heart set on it, go for it. Or the standard, go for it. Either way, get your hands on this figure. You will not be disappointed with the X-Plus 30cm 1994 Mogera from Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla. Alright, so I thank y'all for watching. Oh, by the way, if you like this shirt, it's a nice shirt. And the message pretty much says, it's very self-explanatory. I can't go into a lot of detail about it, but the one thing I will say is that if you're a kaiju collector and you're a kaiju fan, stay tuned in the next few months. You will be in for a real treat. And that's all I can say about that. All right. So I thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on this Figure Move review. All right. Y'all take it easy.